That's right. You're listening to the coolest of the cool, the Cooley Cool Show. Listen here live. It's Thursday night. The only show around that rocks from coast to coast, north to south, and yes, maybe even in Antarctica. And if you're in Antarctica, let us know what you think about the show. You're listening to Cooley Cool's Hip Hop Jam. We're going to get started in just a couple seconds here on the Coolest of the Cool, the coolest show around, the Cooley Cool. Oh yeah, we got a good discussion of topics today. Oh yes we do. We certainly do. So this is your first time tuning in here to the Coolest of the Cool. Thank you. Get ready to get your mind blown on a lot of the craziness that we're going to talk about. Oh yes. You're listening here to the coolest show around. So if you haven't done already, make sure you follow us on all other social media platforms. Be sure to follow me on my TikTok channel, The Cooley Cool Show. Be sure to follow me on my YouTube channel, The Cooley Cool Show. Be sure to follow me on my Twitter account at CooleyCool2412. Also, be sure to follow me on my Instagram page at Brent_the_champ. Yeah, people. Be sure to like and subscribe. Yeah. Like I said, we're going to get started in just a couple of seconds. You're listening to the coolest show around. Now, listening here on the coolest show around the world. Yes, the world. That's because we say it is. You're going to listen to absolutely the most awesomest show around on the planet. The coolest show you have ever heard. Listen here to the coolest of the cool, the Cooley Cool Show. Now, without further ado, here is by far the most coolest dude around. Through the intergalactic cosmos, your host, Brent. Brent. Thank you. All right, we got a pretty good topic of discussion here tonight. We touched on a little bit of last night with the Great Awakening and some of the thought process behind that, and what certain things that people may have were influenced. It was more about talking about how people are influenced, especially during that time period, and how certain people kind of wanted their agenda to be swayed. And I kind of was leading the fact that science snuck in through the back door during those enlightenment periods where people began to free think, and the reason why people were enlightened, which was a good thing, trying to find themselves, but at the same time were easily swindled because not many people back in their time, they were they were illiterate, so they couldn't read, they couldn't write, and so they were very easily prey for those elites of the elites who wanted them to convince them into thinking a certain way, which they did. And like I said, science found daylight, as football term is running back. Boom, we found daylight, and science ran off with it, influencing things. But that wasn't the entirety of the conversation that we were talking about last night. It wasn't. It was actually more of kind of illustrating the point how certain things are, how influence can happen, especially during those time periods. And then how that came from the European side and it comes over here to the American side. So let's go and check out here on what the Second Great Awakening was. Give you a brief synopsis of the Second Great Awakening. So I'm going to talk like this. Oh, and by the way, happy Groundhog's Day. Yes, happy Groundhog's Day. Yes. So, and by the way, it's 6 more weeks of winter. Duh. So, the second, I'm going to say this in such a scholarly way, so that you can understand it much more clear, and that you can probably get a great grasp on how things were back in that time period. And we're going to touch on briefly a lot of things, and we're going to go that way. So, let's continue. Let's get on. So, the Second Great Awakening, a religious movement in the United States. The Second Great Awakening. Protestant religious revivals in the United States from about 1795 to 1835. During the revival, meetings were held in small towns and large cities throughout the country, and the unique frontier institution known as the camp meetings began. Many churches experienced a great increase in membership, particularly among Methodist and Baptist churches. The Second Great Awakening made so wanting that the primary function of ministry and stimulated several moral and philanthropic reforms, including the temperance and the emancipation of women, generally considered less emotional than the Great Awakening of the early 18th century. The second wave led to the founding of numerous colleges and seminars, to an organization of missions societies across the country. The Second Great Awakening can be divided into three phases. The first phase, from 1795 to 1810, was associated with frontier camp meetings conducted by the American preacher James McGready, John McGee, and Barton W. Stone in Kentucky and Tennessee. The second and most conservative phase of the Awakening, the 1810 to 25, centered in the Congregational Church of New England under the leadership of their Logans Timothy Dwight, Lyman Preacher, and Nathaniel W. Taylor. And not going to pronounce that name. The third and final phase, from 1825 to 35, stemmed from the activities of Charles Grandison Finney, who began his revitalization in small towns in western New York in the 1820s, but eventually conducted rival meetings in the largest cities in the United States and Britain. So, whatever the fuck that said, whatever the fuck they were talking with some people that I haven't fucking ever studied at all, but Apparently, these are some of the main, uh, I guess, pioneers who came forth during the Great Awakening. I'm assuming they were ministers and preachers and sermons, and basically they were using it as far as well. Well, I can get my message across to these people, and they don't have a fucking clue. Why not? We need another second Great Awakening to get these fucking people enlightened. So I'm trying to go over as much as this because I want to get to the juicy topic as what was the whole fucking principle. Obviously, they talk about um, when they talk about the Great Awakening, they talk about a great influence. It's not like the Renaissance period where fashion and art things kind of took over, but I mean, it's more or less. It's just like what? Let's put it this way. We're gonna break it down, and it says religious transformations and the Second Great Awakening. The Second Great Awakening marked a fundamental transition in American religious life. So basically, a lot of Americans probably were conforming to religion, but they were trying to get away from religious persecution. That's why they left Europe in the first place. But when they probably got here, they probably said, "Fuck, we need some type of belief." And we don't want these people just running rampant and just doing whatever the fuck they want to the new land here. No, they had to come up with some type of, hey, give these people some type of belief, a right way of thinking, a right way of living, a right way of being a whatever. So that could kind of consider it, though, as the first Great Awakening was kind of steamed towards in the European side. So let's say the significance of the Second Great Awakening is known for. It's not really fucking saying anything. It's just kind of right. But maybe I'm being that. I just don't, you know, I'm not looking at it from a different perspective. Maybe I'm looking at it as like, okay, they're more of a religious bound, you know, trying to figure out what in detail, other than having people in the churches come out in mass numbers, having people pick up the religion aspect. There's, like I said before in my podcast, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with going to church, believing who you want to believe, sitting down and believing in the Lord, worshiping the Lord your own way. There's nothing wrong with that at all. So don't think that I might show that I'm saying that's wrong. No, I'm not saying it. I'm saying, trying to figure out what could have probably been influenced by people taking advantage of certain things of this period. And it says, what is the result of the Second Great Awakening? So we're going to look at kind of a result. And I'm going to do it in the European way. Let me see if I can do it again. Or the whatever. Or the Australian way. Maybe. I don't fucking know. Or the English way. Here we go. Let me get my scholarly talk on. Marked by a wave of enthusiastic religious revival. The Second Great Awakening set the stage for equality. Well, enthusiastic social reform movements, especially abolishments and temperance, chose to reject sin and instead live morally upstanding lives. It also urged them to help others. Fuck are they talking about? Really? Equality and social reform movements, especially abolishment and temperance? Okay. We do know that here in America, having slaves was a big thing when America was first founded. And as far as they're saying, from 1795 to 1835, slavery was still legal in America. So it's not much reform was happening with that if you're gonna fucking start talking about that bullshit. So whatever. Reforms. Well, I guess they were saying we were making progress, but we had to make it slowly. But yet you were still saying, hey, you still like your slaves. The fuck out of here, that nonsense. you know. So I mean, if it was a movement, why wasn't the movement done earlier? Why didn't about now we're looking at about another 30 years when that became a key factor? And if you know here in America history a little bit, when I say 30 years after, from what I said from 1830, probably when the Second Great Awakening kind of done and over with. 30 years after that, you had a little thing called the Civil War, which was predominantly focused on slavery or the expansion of slavery into the new territories going Midwest and to the Western Front. So it was the movement. The Second Great Awakening was a Protestant religious revival during the early 19th century in the United States. Blah, blah, blah. Same shit. They're not really talking much about it. So basically, it was a religious revival where they probably felt as though people weren't taking in religious content or much of anything from it. But then they kind of wanted to say, we need to get this back up and running. You know, you gotta get these people doing it. And i.e., once again, we are during a time period where not many people were literate. They couldn't read. A lot of people couldn't write. You know, more or less, they couldn't. Understand what something was going on. Though you had certain ones, the scholars, elites of the elites, the model citizens, crafting their way to how people should be thinking and should be living their lives a certain way. And a lot of it has to deal with apparently the first one is like everybody's born a sinner. That's saying you're sinning and this and that. Man, that's just like it's just like before you're born, you're a sinner. Damn. I mean, shit. I Man, you don't even give people a chance, but you're just gonna pitch a line saying that. That's that's kind of a lot. I mean, I'm gonna try to look at some more other content on here to where the Second Great Awakening did they really accomplish anything? So, what was the Second Great Awakening? It was, I mean, we all know that religion is interpreted the way you see it as. So, if you're a Christian or you know whatever religion you are, and you you're reading and you're taking up in the church and their religious ways, you know, you pretty much have to take on as far as what to believe in that. As I said before in my previous podcast, I said there's usually typically three ways of thinking. Sometimes there are those that believe everything happened the way it did in the Bible or in the religious content of what they preach and teach. Then there's others who take the good from the bad and dismiss the other stuff that they feel is not really much of importance. Then you have the third where people are on the fence on it, but still will listen to it, but don't take everything to content. And that's kind of where your science people are on the third row. Like, I would say a vast majority of people who are religious in some way, shape, or form. But I mean, let's put it this way: you don't have to go to church every Sunday to believe in the Lord in your own way. I mean, you're not a sinner if you don't go to church. People. I mean, I used to think that a long time when I was a kid. It's like, oh, if I don't go to church, I'm gonna go to hell. You know. I mean, I mean, literally, I remember when I was in church and I remember I go to Sunday school and I'd be like, okay, you're going off to Sunday school. I'm like, damn, I gotta go to Sunday school, you know. And as I go to Sunday school, and you're in there and they have, I forgot the ladies, whatever, they're teaching, the Bible and stuff and reading it. And then I remember sitting in Sunday school when we're going there, there's two kids in there talking. They're like, whoop your ass after we get out of Sunday school. I'm like, shit. I mean, they already talked about scrapping, in Sunday school, and then scrap talking about I'm gonna handle you after Sunday school. So, I mean, shit, I don't know what to tell you at that point. I mean, but I mean, I guess if you believe in the Lord your own way and you know do the right things for the right reasons, yeah, I mean, you don't have to be in an area if you want to be in a large group area because you feel as though you feel more in touch that way, or especially you're not unknown and what's going on and what things is about. It's good to get information, but be careful because honestly, religion has a great way of influence, and a lot of people, as I said beforehand, during this period of time, took advantage of a lot of people and ran with this. And it's a lot to do with the fact that a lot of these people weren't educated as they are in our time, our today's society, where people are fairly educated, even if the person, like I said, isn't the smartest or whatever. doesn't have to have a PhD or a college degree or whatever. People are very well rounded as far as understanding certain things, and not to be like, you know, oh, I'll take everybody's word on exactly what they say is to be true and everything. People will still be understanding that, yeah, there might be a possibility somebody has an alternative motive. Um, I mean, I mean, that's why I brought up last night. I said during the 80s, they saw a lot of this being prevalent. And sometimes with a lot of these religious kind of situations, um, it could be tragic in how stuff is done, considering the fact that, like I said, during the 80s, they had a lot of this stuff going on, and in the early 90s, had a lot of it too going on, where a lot of these religious people, and I don't think it meant for them to steer all this way, but then it did because they were, I don't want to say brainwashing, but sort of on the lines of brainwashing people to get them to think a certain particular way, and was had a held on them so strong. And this is where the term, oh, they're part of a cult. And i.e., when somebody says a cult, I think automatically that's a religious type of way that went the wrong way, a religious thinking that went the other way, and now turned into a cult where now things happen. And as far as like the late 70s and 80s and 90s, we've seen certain cults like that have done certain things where people have fell on these people. That's why many people say, "Oh yeah, okay, they're drinking the Kool-Aid too." If you know that term, you know what I'm talking about. I mean, in '93, they had the ATF back then. They ended up trying to raid, Waco, Texas. You know, if you know anything about that, you should read into it. You should see what happened. Um, but it's one of those things where, like I said, be careful how the religion's supposed to be going, because sometimes you could fall into that lines where, is this religion? You have free thinkers, but is the free thinking have an alternative motive where they're now influencing people to do other things other than where it originally started from? And I mean, I don't really want to delve into that too much because it's a hot topic of discussion. I'm only talking about as far as what other people do to influence, as what I said, but I'm using it as far as science infiltrated to fit their own form of agendas. And as science did it, now it did it in the first Great Awakening, but I guess they need to cap it off a little bit more in the second one to make sure Americans here in America were following what they wanted to follow and how they needed them to go a certain way. So it was like, oh yeah, we're gonna get them over there in America. I'm sorry, let me use the English accent to make it. There's some damn Americans over there. They think they can lollygag and not be a part of the current times. They must be enlightened by the ways of the scholars of the techniques. But sire, but sire, some of these people don't know how to read. So how will they ever learn the ways of the scholars? Who says they have to learn the way of the scholars? We can teach them by talking to them, by influencing them and directing them to the way we want them to learn. And once we have it all set of done, we'll make up our own formal mounts of bullshittery, and that way they'll never question it. And it will the point that they do try to question it. And trust me, they will try to question it. All the facts and logical reason will be fucking wrong. They will have nothing to go against, even though they will gallantly try. But all the fitted formats, the equations, the research and delved answers will have already been mapped out to the way we want it to be. We're irrefutable evidence that we have shifted and molded it our way has grasped and taken over, and will spread throughout the rest of the world. But sire, that sounds incredibly devilish. How could we ever do it? Shut up, boy. You see what I'm saying? That's how my interpretation of shit like that. How science snuck to the back door. And as they snuck through the back door, they sat down at the table and drank a hefty pint of whatever the fuck they drink. It's bullshittery at its finest. Cheers, mate. I don't know whether it says fucking cheers or not, or tea time, I don't fucking know. Whatever the scholarly people say, both of them. But this is just another way of certain shit that is once again, you know, there's a hidden agenda to it all. There always is, always gonna be, always will be. If you're listening to my show here, it's gonna tell you how certain shit is the way it actually is for fit. Man, the hell with all that. Well, this is what now. Just let's just be real, okay? Let's just be real about shit. All right. And matter of fact, you want to be real? Let's just go on about this, okay? We have an upcoming specialized event, which means millions upon millions of people are going to be watching and tuning into it because it's grossing a whole shitload of money and will continue to grow a shitload of money. And people are going to be heavily invested, and you're going to see a lot of influencing, a lot of marketing of people trying to get people to subconsciously have them purchase, buy, want, go, and see by merely because of certain event that's going to happen. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, it's the Super Bowl. And when I'm talking about the Super Bowl, it's the advertisement, it's the commercials. All these commercials. New commercials, new shows, new movies, new fucking clothing, car sales, and certain cars are coming out. Trust me, it never ceases to fail. It happens all the time. Slowly but surely, infiltration of people showing you what they want you to do. I don't know whether or not a couple of y'all watched the last year's Super Bowl when they were doing the little square barcode thing, and they were like, go up to your screen and just watch TV. You can log in on the new app with just using your phone, capture the picture on there, it takes you directly to the website. That's what they were doing. A lot of people were getting used to them because they figure they'll take it to the website because the barcode, the insignia, whatever, is captured. hmm Influence, influence, influencing on certain things that are materialistic for people to, well, for I say the elites of the elites to make money off you, the regular people, the workers. I mean, honestly, like think about it. you know, you see something on television, people place value on it. People want it. Oh, I want that. I made a podcast before. I said we have in this country and around the world where it's like a fucking shiny gold brick, shiny gold fucking rock is worth so much money. A fucking clear, almost crystal fucking clear, little fucking rock that's sharp. If you shave it all the way down to make it a certain thing, a certain design, you keep shaving it more down, and then you put it to a certain size, then you put it into a ring, and it's even smaller, so much smaller than originally, but because you shaved it down. But now people want to charge, oh, it's just 10,000, 15,000, maybe $20,000 to give it to your baby. Show her you love her. But you just shaved pretty much all the fucking, the diamond down. And with the fucking gold fucking rock over here that's shiny, it's so much money, but it's a fucking brick. You think the fucking caveman time actually gave a shit about a shiny ass fucking rock? No, they didn't. They could care less. A fucking shiny rock. Whoop de fucking do. But guess what? Somebody sitting next to you is like, ooh, I want that because it's shiny. And then you're like, no, it's mine. No, it's mine. No, it's mine. Well, what are you going to give me for it? And you're like, what are you going to give me for it? I don't know. But I want it. Placing value on it. Value on certain shit. What's next? Value on dirt. I want that. Well, I shouldn't have said dirt because at this point in time, you can go to the fucking a hardware store and they're selling dirt. Fucking selling dirt. I mean, literally. You're like, well, this dirt is made from the blah 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 compared to this other dirt. Well, let's give you much of content texture. I mean, placing value on shit that just does not need to be placed on. But at the same time, like I said, what do I know? I'm a crazy person talking on this podcast. Psych. No, I'm somebody bringing to you real about certain shit that comes up that maybe you want to kind of look at from a different perspective. All right? Literally, a different perspective. So, I got about 13 minutes, and I don't want to talk because I can keep going on about this because I get so infuriated about this. And do I like shiny stuff? Yeah, I do. Okay. Do I like gold? Yeah, I do. If you gave me a brick of gold, yes, what would I do with it? I'd fucking turn that shit in and fucking do something with it. Okay. But at the same time, I'm going to look at it from a common sense perspective about, ooh, it's a fucking shiny fucking brick. So many people will fight over that shiny fucking brick because they place a value on it. And when placing a value on it, creates a fucking tension and problems. Like I said, a caveman time could care less. You probably might bludgeon somebody with a fucking shiny brick because they don't know what the fuck it is and they're just trying to defend themselves. Just saying. But I don't want to spend too much talking on this topic. I got another topic that I really want to talk about, and I just wonder if anybody knows anything about it. So I touched on a little bit about it last night. And yeah, I was talking about how maps were made before planes and satellites. It's a very intriguing question. It's a very true question. And we'll probably get somebody who probably will say, oh, that's easy because you had these. Well, let's put it. Let's see. I'm going to read something real quick. It says, how was the world's first map mapped? A Babylonian clay tablet helped unlock an understanding for how our ancestors saw the world, dating all the way back to the 6th century BC. The Imiglos Mundis is the oldest known world map, and it offers a unique glimpse into ancient perspective on the earth and the heavens. Why are we... So, let's get this straight. So, Babylonians, or maybe Babylonians, but this group back in the 6th century BC were able to come to an understanding on how the world looked and put it on their little scrolls and be like, this is what it looks like. And I said to my pastor, they go to every fucking coastline and go from one part down to the another part. And he was like, yeah, that's what we're doing. That's how the world looks. No, that's bullshit. That's utter bullshit. Back in this, look, the 6th century BC was able to kind of get a general idea of what the fucking Earth looked like. And let's first off, I've already said it plenty of times on my podcast. I've said it plenty of times. I am not a flat earther. Okay? Not a flat earther. I believe the Earth is a globe. But I believe in it in a certain type of way. It looks, though. But you're telling me. Okay. Well, here's the way we can break it down. We can all understand this. It's easy easy. Clear and crystal. Is put it this way. Today, modern times, people go to the bathroom, use toilets, toilet flushes. 6 BC, people didn't have toilets, no flushing, no plumbing. But they knew exactly how the fucking world looked like on a map and be able to map it down says this is what it looks like. Ask yourself that question. Okay? You want to make yourself feel with a common sense answer to this bullshit about people from the 6th century BC, on knowing what the freaking world looked like? But you know, they were like, oh, they were scholars, they were so smart, they were so intellectual. Are you freaking kidding me? Doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. But they're gonna say they mapped it out. They knew exactly what it looked like. What? That's absurd. Literally absurd. But I'm pretty sure somebody says you just don't know how they used to do things back then in the day. Well, guess what? I've said on my podcast before, the Mariana Trench. You know how they found it? By fucking accident. And guess what? When they found that by accident, they had a weight on a rope and they dragged it down because they wanted to see what was the depth of it. And then when the rope just kept going, and then they were like, shit, this keeps going. And then they ran out of rope. And they were like, well, fuck, we don't know. They were said, well, this must be the bottom. It just keeps on going. Mariana Trench. There you go. Hey. At a point in time in the ocean floor, the pressure is going to fucking kill you. Back then in time, they didn't have modern shit that we have now these days. But back in the day, they knew all this shit, and we were just piggybacking on the shit that they knew that was accurate, right, and all 100%, you know, kind of, not saying 100%, but majority of the time was on point. We just kind of shaved off, smoothed it out, made it look a little better. You know, it wasn't 720p. It was now 1080p. Really? I don't fucking get it. I've heard some whoppers in my time, but this one fucking cuts the cheese on this one. You know, let me read this fucking nonsense real quick. So, oh, yes, let me read this nonsense. So, all right. So, let's see. Let's see. The map making of the ancient world. Maps of the ancient world were made by using accurate surveying techniques, which measures the positions of various objects by calculating the distance and angles between each point. The surveying tools they used were a series of ropes and chains. You fucking kidding me? Okay. I gotta stay calm. Okay. That were cut to known lengths, and they use physical and magnetic compass to measure their angles. If they wanted to measure angles between that were further away from each other, they would use magnifying glasses or small telescopes that were attached to the compass. Are you fucking kidding me? Fucking stupid. The fuck? Okay. Let's look when the telescope was invented. Okay. I'm going to Google this shit. Hold on. We're going to get down to this nonsense real quick. Telescope. When was the telescope invented? All right. Oh, here you go. Okay. Telescope. Let's see. Telescope. 1608. While there is evidence that the principles of the telescope were known in the late 16th century, the first telescope were created in the Netherlands in 1608. But didn't I tell you the thing where it said the maps were somewhat made out and thought of during the 6th century? Well, 6th century BC? So I'm just saying, there's some bullshittery going on here. Okay? It's like they're just making shit up. Now, obviously, we know what shit looks like today. Okay, it's evident. Okay, we know what shit looks like, how it looks like, but gonna tell me that these people back in the ancient times knew what the fuck the Earth looked like without fucking planes and satellites and fucking camera pictures, but they were just doodling. That's what I think with the North America. Is this North America? Fucking horseshit, man. Like, unbelievably bullshit. So, okay. Let me read some more of this nonsense because this is really just over the top fucking just complete and utter nonsense. So the triangulation used should be fucking dumbassism to determine the location of a certain point by using the location of other known survey markers and points with these methods. Distance, elevation, and distance between objects can be measured even from so look. You could okay if you're a person that's like, well, you just don't understand the mathematics behind this. You just don't understand the calculation. No, they were fucking doing this with fucking chains and ropes, and maybe footsteps. Okay, and coming up with elevation, the calculations. That's like me saying, I'm on a range. What's the distance between here and about a fucking 3 football fields or 300 yards? I don't know. Maybe it's about a football field. How do you know it? I'm just taking what I know. This is what these people are doing. Is it completely accurate? No, it's not. You're just taking a perspective of what you think the fucking distance is. And I'm telling you, this is what these fucking people were doing back in the day. They were making a best guess assumption. That's all they were doing. Best guess assumption. You're telling me with primitive tools, primitive items, primitive fucking things, but we give all these people back in the day such fucking, oh, they were so smart. They were just so entirely smart. They were able to understand everything and all types of shit, right? We're just giving them the credits out the fucking ass, right? Just giving the credits. Just like they talk about aliens, right? Like I said before on my podcast before about aliens, right? All of a sudden, aliens want to be seen by prominent rich people or people, who have educated. Oh, I've seen aliens. Oh my God, they came in the middle of the night. This took me to the mothership. Now, all this type of other shit, right? But at the same time, you never seen a person or heard a person in the fucking broke down ghetto hood areas talk about they were seen an alien or been taken up to the mothership while walking down the street to the liquor store. You never fucking seen that shit, right? But if you dared to say, oh yeah, that motherfucker just crazy shit, they probably high on some shit, I'm guaranteed you probably fucking would say that, right? But we're just gonna take it because a person's so-called smart, whatever. Whoa. Lord. After this, I swear this, I'm probably going to have to go to church after this because I'm, oh, Lord. Oh, man, you know what? We didn't come to another end of this segment here on the Coolly Cool show. Yeah, I'm going to have to steam off a little bit. Yep. So we're going to have another episode maybe tomorrow night. I guaranteed. Yeah, I have to finish this nonsense. But, you're here live on the Coolly Cool show with your host, Brent, kicking here live on the coolest show around. I'm record from coast to coast, north to south, and even in Antarctica. Be sure to follow us on other social media platforms. Follow me on my YouTube channel. You can also follow me on my TikTok channel, both labeled the Coolly Cool Show, YouTube and TikTok. Follow me on my Twitter account, the Coolly Cool Show. Well, Coolly Cool Show, but it's Coolly Cool 2412. Also follow me on my Instagram page at Brent_the champ. So stick with us tomorrow. We're gonna get to the bottom of this shit. So thank you, everyone. You're here live on the Coolest of the Cool, the Coolly Cool Show. Your host, Brent. Take care. Bye.